name's Wendy, and this is Wonky Moon Crafts, a fiber and knitting, crocheting podcast. I live in Northeast Ohio with my husband and my cat, Frankie Knuckles, and we get up to some yarny goodness. In today's episode, specifically, I'll be discussing my finished object, my current whips on the needles, a project that I've been working on and a new cast on, as well as we'll be discussing some yarn dyeing I did recently and, shockingly, some sewing I did recently. Very rare for me. I hope you come along and we have a good time, as always. All right, let's get into the fun. So, this is my finished object. It is the Rota Sleeveless top by Irene. And I've been eyeing this for a while and had been wanting to make it. And honestly, I was very daunted by the let me see if you can see a little better, the lattice work on this. And I've only been knitting for 2 years. And when I first saw this and wanted to make it, I had not been knitting long enough to really even have a clue how to do this. I crocheted for about 4 years prior to, or 5 years, something like that, prior to starting to knit. And I have made garments crocheting. I've done cabling, things like that I've done in crochet. So to me, this looked much more like crochet than like a knitting type project because that's what I was familiar with. So I really had no concept of like how this would be achieved. But as always, I just dive right in eventually. And so I did that, and I'm very happy that I did. I'm very pleased with this end product and what it looks like. For the yarn, I used Knit Picks Shine. It is a sport weight yarn. This is a 50-gram ball. That's what they come in. This is 110 yards. It's color Serreno, and it is a 60% Pima cotton, 40% modal. As you can see, it does kind of have a shine to it. It is soft, but it does have a nice shine. Let me see if I can. Yeah. And the one thing I will say about this yarn is when I blocked my tank top, I really didn't have a problem with it. It is a little heavy because it is cotton. I think that's just going to be the nature of the cotton. It's a little heavy. So once I got to joining in the round on the pattern, my hands did start to get tired just because I think of the weight of the project and like the lack of give. It wasn't terrible, but I definitely couldn't do a lot in a day. I would just do like a few rows a day for a while. Until I got closer to the end. I think having the cable and the yarn overs and stuff also just tends to make me grip it harder, because when I got down to working on like the ribbing and stuff, that didn't bother me as much. So I do think I probably am gripping it tighter, which added to the what was going on. But one thing I will say about this yarn is when I blocked it, it bled a lot. And I blocked it partway through to see how much it would grow for the length when I was deciding how long I wanted it. And then I blocked it again. I actually wore it once because I wasn't that much unblocked, but I did block it again after I wore it. And there was still a lot of color coming out of it and a lot of fuzzies and stuff coming off of it. I'm assuming, being cotton, that at some point it will definitely, that's going to stop. But I would not, if you're picking this up, this shine, I would not, make sure you're not using it with anything else. It is machine wash, cold, tumble dry, low, but I would not wash this with something else. It'll definitely turn whatever you're washing it with. I hand washed it myself, and then laid it out to dry, so it was all by itself, so it didn't have any issue for me, because I was just worried about stretching, but so far it seems to be okay. I know cotton doesn't really have the bounce back of wool, so I don't know how long it's going to hold up, but So far, I'm very happy with it. I'm very happy with the fit of it. And I'm very excited to wear it. This is only my second summer garment and the first time I've knit with all plant-based fibers. And like I said, I was pretty happy with it. I mean, aside from the bleeding color problem, it seems, it's not the most expensive yarn. It's soft, it's silky, it's easy to use. I don't really have many complaints about the yarn itself. The pattern was really easy to read, and I had no problems with it. So it's definitely you start with the back to add some length on the back, and then you pick up and do each of the kind of shoulder bits like this, and then you eventually will kind of cast on some stitches for the neckline, and then you join in the round and keep going. You do add the collar on later, and of course the armhole ribbing you add later, and is and which I wound up doing the collar pretty early because I wanted to know how it fit. I did do the armhole, I don't think it was quite last, but I think I did do them last. But they weren't too bad either. One thing I will, and I'll put a picture up of me wearing it, there's a split hem. I also did not do the ribbing as long on the hem as it called for, because it was just getting a little long. So I didn't want it to get too long. The pattern comes with a cropped version, and then it comes with a longer version. I did the longer version. I did try it on after the cropped because I do know cotton grows. So that is kind of when I blocked it to see how much it would grow to make sure that it wasn't going to be grow to a point where I wished I'd stopped. Which, like I said, I did wind up going longer. It's basically this, like, if you can see here, so this from here to here, it's basically you just do an extra one of those if you want to do the longer version. So it's not too much different. And then like I said, I did do the back a tiny bit longer than the front because, like I said, I did stop it shorter than it called for, but I didn't. But I still wanted the back to be. I didn't want the back to be short, so I did do it just a tiny bit longer than the front, maybe half an inch. But again, I'm overall very happy with it. This is the second time I've worn it, and I think it looks pretty good. But one thing I'm not really sure about yet, in the first time I wore it, I wore a black tank top under it because I was wearing some black Converse with it, and this time I'm wearing a white tank top because, although you can't see it, I have white shorts on. I'm not really sure, I'm not really sure what to wear under this, in terms of color wise. I definitely, I think with some more lacy things and whatever, wearing like something nude so it doesn't detract from the design itself makes sense. In this case, though, because it is so open and wide in the lace part, I don't know if that makes sense or not. I don't know. I'm going to play around with it. But overall, like I said, I'm really happy with this. And again, this is the Rota Sleeveless top by Irene Lynn. And if you're curious, there is a long sleeve version as well. Okay, next we have current whips. So I'm going to first go show you my Eva cardigan. I've made some progress on it. Nothing too substantial, so I'm not going to, talk about it for too long because I've talked about it several times before. But this is the Eva cardigan by Petit knit. I am holding Hedgehog Fibers Sun Shower, their silk mohair, with a just undyed fingering weight merino wool nylon blend. So that way all the colors in this mohair can kind of show off it all. I think it looks kind of watercolorish when you put the speckle in the mohair versus in the other yarn. So this is what it looks like caked up. You can see all those colors. And this is my cardigan. So I did try this on the other day. And I'm getting close to the end. So you can see I've been doing the ribbing for a bit. The pattern calls for 3.5 inches of ribbing at the bottom, and mine's actually a pretty good length, although I don't think this is the type of cardigan where if it's a little bit longer it's going to really be a big deal. I am unsure that I'm going to keep going the full 3.5 inches though. I think this is right now a little over 2 inches. So we'll see if we continue with that, and then I will still have to add, of course, the button band, and which is also a 2x2 rib like the bottom, and then of course the sleeves. I did not hold, so far I'm on my second ball of the mohair. I did not hold I didn't do switching rows when I was holding the mohair. I just did it, and then when I was getting close to the end of the first ball, then I did rotate. I kind of started working the second ball in, and then I kind of rotated back and forth a few times until like one row of one ball, one row of the other. Then it was like one of the old, two of the new, and so on until I started just doing the new ball by itself. You can see, I think, a little bit of variation from the top to the bottom. It's like the second ball was greener, but I think it's fine. For what it is with all the colors and stuff, I don't think it is a problem or anything. I will have to do the same thing on the sleeve though, since I joined the new ball pass where I split for sleeves, but I think that'll be fine too. I made sure that I saved some of the first ball for that reason. One thing I do want to show you here is this is a fun construction. I've never done this kind of sleeve construction before. Let's see if you can see that. This is kind of the back shoulder here, and I think I saw something that said that this is a compound raglan, maybe. I'm not really sure, because you do have your raglan stitches here, as you can see, and well, here actually you can see it better on the back where you have this shoulder detail, but then you do still have raglan after that. So I think so it's definitely not just a normal raglan. There's something else going on there. And you do have to, so you do stitches on the back for the neckline, basically the same as this top. So it was interesting because I did this, I started this, and then I started this. So it was like, oh, okay, well, about the same thing. But you do the back, and then you pick up for the shoulder, and you do one shoulder, and then you do the other shoulder. But then what you do for the sleeve portion is once you go down so far on the shoulder, you pick up these sleeve stitches, and then you start working the sleeve and then increasing across. That's how you get those raglan stitches on either side, is once you've gone just a little way down the shoulder, then you pick up the sleeve stitches again. It was kind of funky when I was like holding it on the needle because it wanted to curve so badly, but obviously like on the needle portion it was straight, so it was definitely a little bit just weird since it wasn't like laying very well while I was doing it, but obviously the stitching part was easy. It's just your normal pick up and knit kind of a thing. So once there was some length to it, it was fine. But that is that's where I'm at with my Eva cardigan, and I have purchase buttons. They are on the way. Hopefully, I wound up getting 2 different ones, so we'll see which one turns out to be the better one. I'm not really sure. I went with kind of a fun one and then a more plain white-ish pearly color. So that's the Eva cardigan. All right, next whip is a new cast on. So I I've talked about this a couple times. I recently got some yarn from Magpie Fibers, their summer blend Equinox. It is a, let me see here. This is the yarn. And it is 65% silk, 35% linen. This is sport weight. They do have a worsted weight. I got the sport weight. This is 365 yards, 115 grams in color L'Afrique. So I got 3 skeins of this, and I wasn't sure what I was going to cast on with it. And I finally decided on the Juno tee by Sari Nordlund. And that is a pattern that came out recently in her new book, Summer Knits. I was actually looking at it on Ravelry, the pattern, and the first time I saw it, I thought it just looked great. I love things that are like simple, but then have that one little fun detail, and that really I think is encompassed by this pattern with it's just a raglan, but then the sleeves have this lace detail, and I just think that is so much fun and something that I'm always going to get excited about. So I got the book, finally came, looked through it, double checked it again. It does call for light fingering weight, so I was definitely a little nervous about if this would work or not with this yarn. But I think it will. I did a gauge swatch, and my swatch, my little baby swatch here, has been blocked and everything, and I think it came out, pretty good. Gauge wise, it came out. My rows tend to always be a little off, but stitch count was perfect. So I decided to go ahead and cast this on. I don't have very much yet. This has been my kind of morning project. I go through these phases sometimes where I just wake up really early and I just can't go back to sleep, so I just stay awake and I just do whatever until I have to go to work or go out for the day when the sun is finally up and I can go do something. So I don't know, I like wake up around like 4:30. So that's what I've been doing. I went ahead and cast this on, and this is what I have so far. So I just do like a few rows each morning, not too much, but because this isn't really my main project, but I don't know, I've been having fun with it, getting it started. And you can see here, so you can see you cast on for the back and a little bit of the sleeve, the sleeve part, and then slowly you keep adding to the kind of front right here part. And then I have, I think, 4 more rows, and then I cast on to join for the front. As you can see, the collar is definitely added later. But for now, this is where I'm at. And like I said, you can see, I've got little markers between the lace part of the sleeve and on either side. And then, of course, this is the back. So I'm hoping it will be, I think the ease on this was like 0 to 2 inches or something. So it's not, it's definitely a close fitting garment. So looking at this, it does look a little small to me. But then again, it's still got things to go, and you got to cast on for the front and stuff. Just the back looked a little, but there's so little here, so we'll see. I'm sure it'll be fine. But again, just using a different weight yarn and so on, and making it work. I'm a little bit more hesitant of where this might end up, but for now, I'm very excited about this. As you can see, this I just love this color, and I think it's a good color for me. So that is where I'm at on that. Not a whole lot to show yet for the Juno tee, but by Sari Nordlund, but I am excited about it, and something that I'll probably just keep working on from now through. Hopefully I'll have it done by like the end of August, or at least, obviously I don't think it's going to be too too terribly long before we can get into the body, and then obviously it's going to just be plain stockinette. I am definitely considering doing the full sleeve before I finish the body, but we'll see how that goes. Because then it gives you the ability, I think, to have something plain and then still be able to work on something else. Because I do still have my champagne pullover and so on that has cables and charts and lace and things. So, I don't want to have too much of those going on. I also don't want too many plain stockinette either. So it's kind of a balance. One thing I do intend to modify on this pattern is the sleeve, I think, comes to about here. I am going to, but it looks like I can repeat the main sleeve chart. So I am going to do that so that it comes down to more like here. I think that'll be a little bit better for me because I don't want to have this beautiful lace and then have my tattoo sticking out and just, it feels like a lot going on and then a lot going on. I love both separately. I'm not sure how much I want them to look together. I'm probably fine, and I'm probably just making it up in my brain. But just to be on the safe side, also, although I can show my tattoos at work, I'm in a very people industry, and so also just don't want to deal with people talking to me about them really, or looking. I just want to do my work and move on. So I will do a longer sleeve so that like I said, I can wear it to work and not really have to think about, that aspect of what I look like. So that is Juno Tea by Sari Nordlund. All right, so this next one is not a knitting, crochet, or anything like that project yet. However, it is some yarn. I did some yarn dyeing not that long. Okay, so here's what I did. A while back, and this has been quite a while back in the fall, last summer. It was definitely last summer. I had gotten some new colors of yarn dye for yarn. It was acid dye, and I wanted to test out the colors. I also had gotten some of the granular acid. If you're unfamiliar with yarn dyeing, I guess, let me back up. If you're unfamiliar with yarn dyeing, when you use plant-based fibers, there's a certain dyes you have to use and so on. I do not know how to do that. I haven't looked at some videos. I am going to attempt it someday, but I'm not there yet. For protein-based, which is, anything that basically comes from an animal, like meaning wool, silk, alpaca, whatever, those, your animal-based fibers, you use acid dye. And there are I don't know how to do natural dyeing yet, but with acid dye, you do have to use some sort of basically an acid that opens up the fiber so that it sucks in the dye. I use just white vinegar. That's what I use as my acids. So I will soak my yarn in a bit of water, and then I will, depending on what effect I'm going for and what I'm trying to do, I will add the vinegar in, maybe in the beginning, maybe in the middle, later after it's soaked up a bunch of whatever. So it soaks up the last bits of dye. There's different ways to do it in different times, so you can approach it depending on what you're going for. And don't get me wrong, I am by no means a yarn dyeing expert, but I pretty much started dyeing yarn at the same time I started learning to knit. So I've been dyeing yarn for about 2 years, solely for my own projects and fun. I just knew that it would be a good way for me to get some more, to be a little bit more cost effective with what I was doing. And it just appeals to me. Yarn dyeing just appeals to me. It just seems like fun to try to make the colors and kind of mad scientist. Oh, if I put this yellow with this orange and a little bit of this black, what do I get? And, however you do it, or how you combine your speckles and your stripes, whatever you're going for. That's really, I just love color. I just love, obviously, as you've seen with my projects, I just love color. So, anyway, so last year I got, some granular acid. to use versus like using the like liquid vinegar, which I've seen some people use that mixed with a little bit of dye to do speckles. So I wanted to try that out. I also got a new color. I used to not be a big fan of yellow, but I have become a fan of yellow. And it was like the only color I wasn't a fan of. But I have become a big fan of yellow of the last like year. Year and a half maybe. I don't know why. But anyway, so I dyed this yarn with my yellow duckling. And this is what I got. And it's got speckles on it. And as I so often do, dyeing, and I'm trying to get better about this, is, I test something out, so I don't want to use a ton of yarn because I don't want to, waste the yarn. But at the same time, like, you kind of are wasting it if you don't have enough to do something with, right? So it's like this weird mix of, I don't know. And then, of course, every time I do that is when I like the color and what came out of it the most, which is what happened in this case. So I have 2 skeins of this sport weight yarn in this color. It's really not enough, and it's sport weight, which isn't the most common. But then on top of that, it's not the most, there's just not a lot of options for just 2 skeins of this yarn. So I don't know what I was doing that day, but I have finally found a pattern, and I think I know what I want to make. So I decided that I wanted to make the Heartcore Slipover by Clara Eggers. And looking at, she's got, I hadn't realized that I had already saved a pattern from her before. I think it was called, it was another long sleeve heart colorwork sweater. Hearts are kind of my thing. I think we need more love and positivity and wonderfulness in this world. And I think having, I think little hearts are just a good reflection of my outlook, who I am, who I want to be. I want to be the caring, loving person that makes people feel good, and passing my, I want to be joyful, and I want to pass that on to others so that they can just be at their happiest and their best as well, whenever I can. So hearts are kind of my thing, and that being the case, when I saw this slipover, realized that it being a colorwork slipover, I could potentially use this yarn for the heart portion of it. I needed to dye up something for the other color, the kind of main color. So I dyed up this purple, lilac-y purple yarn. This is also a sport weight. I think they're actually different, feeling them. I think they're actually different bases. I think this feels like maybe it's superwash merino with, I don't know if it has nylon in it, but it feels like the superwash merino from Nomad, and this one feels like the regular merino from Nomad. Very similar, but this one is slightly softer. So that's why I think it's the superwash, but they're both incredibly soft. So that is what I'm thinking. What do you think? Do you think that'll make a good slipover? Just a little bit of speckle in those hearts, and then have this be the solid color? Do you think that'll work? So that's the yarn I dyed. Again, the pattern I'm thinking of making with this, well, I'm pretty sure I'm going to make with it, is the Heartcore Slipover by Clara Eggers. It does come in sizes A through H on sport weight yarn. Last but not least, I sewed. That is incredibly rare for me. I almost never do it. I do have a sewing machine. I've sewn all of maybe 5 times in my life. It is not something, it's one of those when I was in high school, or junior high, whatever it was, and we had to do like the home ec basically, and we had to make a pair of shorts. Like that was where my sewing started. I eventually later got a sewing machine when I was older, maybe 10 years later, I got a sewing machine. Because I like the idea of making skirts or something. I have not ever done that, but I like the idea of it in theory. I got, at one point I had made some little bags to hold like dice and stuff, die for games, card games, board games, whatever. So I had gotten some little fat quarter square fabric things or whatever from Joann's, but I had those around, so that was really all I did with that. Sewing, again, it's not my thing really. But recently I was on Pinterest and I saw this. I've really been thinking about making some skirts. I very much admire all these knitters, these podcasters that knit and then sew and they make like their whole outfit, and I can't ever find the skirt that I want to buy in like stores and stuff, just like the fit of like the lay of it. I just want like an A-line that's not too full. For some reason that's just so hard to find. And then, and maybe a dress too, but that is something that I would like to try. But so I've been kind of collecting patterns and kind of slowly being like, maybe I'll do that eventually. I just haven't gotten there yet. I'm just busy knitting. I have so much knitting to do. I figured I'd just keep going with that and then maybe see what happens. But while I was looking at these sewing things, more sewing patterns and stuff started popping up in my Pinterest. And one of the things that popped up in my Pinterest was a purse pattern. And this purse pattern is like the purse pattern. I travel a lot. I've mentioned this before. I travel a lot for work. And one of the things that always makes me crazy is when you're going to work, when you're going to like a festival, when you're going to, I'm also a big sports fan. I follow all the Cleveland sports teams. And, when you're going to a sports, going to a basketball game or whatever, baseball game, you don't necessarily want to take your whole purse. You just want something small and simple. I just need to carry my phone. And then I just need to be able to put like my car key, which is kind of a fat fob, and my ID and a credit card, a little bit of cash, maybe, in this purse. But the problem is typically it's like they're either so small they don't fit your key, or they're bigger, and that's not what I'm looking for. But this pattern is the solution to it all. It is the Slim Phone Crossbody Bag by Minki Kim, and this can be found on sewingillustration.com. That is the website. She's so many cute purse patterns, and totes, and any kind of bag you can think of. Cosmetic bags, travel bags, baskets, placemats, things like that. All those kinds of little accessories in your life that you might have. And I decided to try to make one. Sidestep. My friend and I, we always make each other something for when we give each other gifts. So birthday, typically just birthday and Christmas. We give each other we may purchase things as well, but there's always some element of it, of something that we've made. So when I saw this purse, I thought this would be a great purse to make for her. Her birthday is, as of recording this, it was actually 2 days ago, but I am seeing her after this and to give her her birthday present and hang out and then celebrate her amazingness. And so I was like, all right, this is it. I'm going to attempt to sew this thing. So first thing I did was I went on to sewingillustrations.com. I ordered the pattern. I know you can do a PDF download, but again, I do not sew enough that I wanted to mess around with trying to print it and make sure it was the right size and do all of that nonsense. I just wanted something where I could cut out the thing as my stencil for the right size and just be done with it. the really great thing was on the website, it tells you exactly all the materials you need. And maybe that's normal for, again, I do not sew. I don't know. It tells you all the things, exactly what you need, what kind of like lining you need, what kind of, all the things you need for the fabric. And then they additionally have kits for the, for this strap. And it also has the little doodad here that the strap hooks onto, and also the magnetic pieces, because it actually does have a little magnetic bit. So with that being the case, I went through my fabric. As I said, I'd gotten some of these fat quarters, which I did not even know that's what they were called before this moment. But I got that in the pattern. It said I needed some. And then I was like, oh, wait, I think I have some of those. So I went through what I had, and I had some fabric that had I had a few cute different fabrics already. And one of them had butterflies on it. And my friend, as I have a thing for hearts, she has a thing for butterflies. So I was like, this is perfect. So I ordered the kit because I didn't want to mess around with trying to find the right thing and not knowing what I was doing and not having ventured into this world at all. I just decided to order the kit with the strap and the little bits and the magnet because I figured that'd be easiest. I can see it in the picture. I know it looks good. Ordered that, then and ordered the, like I said, the actual pattern, the physical pattern versus the printable one. And those came. So, all right, here's what I ordered, actually 2 of them, because I thought I'm going to make one for myself. That'll be my test one to see how it goes. Hopefully I can figure it out from there, and then I'll be able to make my friends, and it'll actually look good. So here's my test one. And here's the thing. I'll be honest with you. It's not good. It's terrible. But you know what? It functions. It's not there. There's things that could be worse in this world, and I'm obsessed with it anyway. I'm gonna love this thing for the rest of my life and forever because I put blood, sweat, and tears into this thing, and I had to, because I haven't sewn in like 10 years. I had to relearn how to even work my sewing machine, which was a whole nother, so thing that was going on, tension in the thread while it was sewing, which stitch thing to have it on, where the dials should be. I was terrified of my bobbin running out of yarn, which of course it did, which weirdly I remembered very quickly how to refill the bobbin. What I could not remember was how to rethread it to get it come up. Oh man, I tried to watch videos. Everyone had different sewing machines with different stuff. It was a lot to deal with. I finally just went, I'm just going to sew. And that worked, weirdly. So I'm going to go with that from now on. Just do it. And it'll work. But Minki Kim does have a YouTube channel. I watched a few videos on it. It's pretty fun. It's really just music and her. It's almost ASMR kind of type stuff because there's just music and just her putting it together and sewing it. But it is really helpful to kind of have that with the pattern. The pattern is written very well with pictures, and I of course don't want to show it since it is paid for, but it is very well done and very high quality put together. So that it is simple to follow, but there is additionally, as they promote on here too, that there is a YouTube tutorial. So check that out. But so I sewed my thing. Now let me show you guys. Okay. Here's the thing. Here's the good thing. So you do the outside and you like quilt this piece. You sew and you quilt this. And yes, I probably shouldn't have used white yarn or white thread. But whatever. Again, I didn't want to change the thread because that freaked me out and it was mine and I didn't care. So I then, so I did the ironing. I found an iron in my house somewhere that I've used all of like twice. I did the ironing thing. I got the special, cause there's like a quilty foamy bit in here or whatever, did that. Then I figured this out and stitched, which on the first one was really, really bad. And then I kind of figured out I could put like lines around it and measure it out and get it a little bit better. The backside of this is horrendous looking. Like, it's awful looking. This side isn't too bad. And honestly, I don't think you can see, I mean, if you look close, you can tell how uneven some of these grids are. But again, I don't really care. And, but the good thing is, so then you do the lining and you turn that, you know, of course, you kind of flip-flop them. So that the lining then sits inside of what the outside part that you quilted. So you hide all that really nasty stuff that was on the other side of, like, on the bottom, basically, of the part that you're looking at. And then, so I did all that. I sewed this little thing. Look, I put it upside down. So you zip it up instead of down. It does have, like, it has a little pocket. And if you watch the videos and stuff, you can put like a chapstick in here. There's enough room for your phone. Where's my phone? So you can put your phone in here, and there's still enough room so that you can put a key in here. You can, with your cards or whatever, and or a chapstick or whatever it is you're wanting to put in here. As long as you don't have like a bulky set of keys or something, you can definitely make this work. My phone is about to here in this thing, and I don't have a small phone. But you can see there's also even a little room that you could put something realistically on the bottom, probably. You might just not be able to magnet the top. So that was that. I actually had to completely recut and redo the pocket because I sewed the pocket together. I sewed it together to the quilted part, so I had to completely, like, I had to buy a seam ripper, wait for the seam ripper to come, then unseam rip it, and then redo the pocket. It was a nightmare. I was so frustrated, but I did all that. And now here's the worst part of this. So this isn't horrendous or anything, but, like, I mean, it's not great, but hey, but the magnet portion is awful. So the magnets that come with the kit look like this. They're like these invisible, I don't know, whatever they are, because I don't know anything again about sewing, but they're these invisible magnet things. And in theory, you do them and they look nice and you can stitch around them and whatever. Okay. First off, shouldn't have used white thread. Second, I'm a terrible sewer. I can't sew straight. This is a nightmare. So this is what it looks like on the inside where my magnets are. So the magnets on the like between the fabric, of course. And here's the other thing I will say. It doesn't even really do much because it's just not like, you could feel it a little bit, but it doesn't even do that much, I think, because of how because of the fabric between it. Yeah, so that, you definitely can't look at this thing. It's terrible. And then I put the strap on. Like, that's it. It's really not, there's a lot of, cutting and setting up and so on. And then, the worst part for me, again, because I don't really like sewing, was definitely doing this quilting bit. That was the worst part for me. After having done these two, if I did this pattern again, and I very well might, because it really is a simple pattern, it's not bad, I would definitely do these bigger and wider, and so that I didn't have to do as many, just solely so I don't have to do as many, because that was awful. But that is, so this is my attempt. This is my first attempt. But, and I think this is a good life lesson for people. It was for me. That went terribly. It doesn't look great. I wouldn't want to give that to my friend for her birthday. But you know what I did? I then decided, I feel like I learned a lot of stuff doing that one. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to make another one. I'm going to go ahead and push forward and make her this present. And this is the finished object. So here we go. Got the little butterflies. The strap here, I did, look, I got, so in the video, this is the type of magnet that they show, the not invisible one. That is what I got. You do not have to sew this in. It literally, you just like push it through the fabric and then you like just fold the little metal pieces around so that it like anchors it in on either side, and that's it. That's all you do. And then you're good to go. And I think it looks fine. Yeah, okay, the invisible is nice and an extra layer of whatever, but I am not there, and I think this looks great. Definitely looks better than that other thing I made. So, I put the zipper right side up. And look at this fabric in here. All coordinating. So exciting. And again, here's the lining. And then of course, so there's two different color straps that you can get in the kit. I had the dark brown one I used for mine, and I used the lighter one for hers. They both come with the more of the like oil bronze kind of look here. When I bought these off of Amazon, just like a bunch of them where it comes with like 3 different metal colors, because I saw that it had this. And then, like I said, I very well may want to make another one, and I will probably just buy a strap and whatever now that I've done it for another one that I would make. But you can see my stitching was a lot better because, of course, I also kind of realized how to do the grid and all that. It's still like uneven. This side's more uneven. That's why I put the zipper on this side. But I think it overall turned out really well. I'm very excited to give this to her. And so that is my endeavors into sewing. I will tell you that I do want to make another one. I'm not sure when I'll do it. I do want to make this like flying V looking pattern on it. And there's instructions in here on how to do that. And she's got a video of how to sew that because she has several patterns that use it. And this is, I've already got the fabric and the zipper that I want to use. So I want to use this. I think I'll use this as the main color and then use these 3 for my flying V. And then I'll have my purple zipper. What do you think? I think it'll be cute if I can pull it off. So, I mean, really it takes about, a long afternoon into the evening, maybe. It took, again, as somebody who doesn't sew or anything, this took me, the second one took me probably 4 hours to do. I did actually have to carry over the next day because I did attempt once to try to use the invisible magnets again. And it went so poorly, I broke the needle, which was a whole nother freak out for me, which I don't freak out, let's be clear. But there was definitely a moment where I was like, I knew I shouldn't have tried that. I knew that I shouldn't have tried that. I did it. I sewed right on top of the magnet. It broke the needle. But good news. I was like, I think I have needles in here. I pulled out the needles. I figured out quickly how to put it in because she was like, you just unscrew a little thing and then screw it back up. Wasn't that hard. So I was like, all right, we're going to just keep moving. So that was exciting. And I learned one more thing about the sewing machine. But that will probably be the next one I make. And there's some tote bags on there. It definitely got me very excited to consider making some project bags for my knitting and crochet. I think that's the next thing I want to try to maybe attempt because I have so many WIPs. I need so many more project bags. And who doesn't love a great project bag? So that's what I'm going to attempt next. So that was my adventures into sewing. Turned out all right, I think. All right, that's all I have for today. Thank you for joining me. I hope that you had fun following along with my adventures and what I'm up to. I would love to hear what you're up to, what adventures you're having. Anything we can do to build each other up and be a community, I would love to be a part of that. And I hope that you comment and you feel welcome to join me in my journey anytime. And please, if you did enjoy this, please tell your friends, please subscribe, like, all those things that they tell you to do. And if you also want to check out a couple of the other videos, like I said, this is my second podcast. I've also done a couple kind of roundup type topic videos, and I'm also I've posted one of my yarn talk and walks because I like to walk around and all I do is think about my yarn while I do that. So I did one video of that, and I will hoping to do a few more of those, keep doing those videos as shorts of just kind of things on my mind, things I'm thinking about. So please feel free to check those out as well. And I hope to see you next time. And I hope you have the best day, the best week, all the most wonderful things, and your lives are filled with joy and love. Bye.